Hey beautiful people, how are you? My name is Connor. You are watching ThrivingMinimalist.com, and today we're tuning in from this beautiful Vanagon at my childhood home in the Santa Ynez Valley of California. If you want to check out a video just on this Vanagon, I have a great interview with my dad that I did last year that you can check out right up here. I'll also put the link in the description box. In today's video, we're going to be comparing van life to RV life. I have decent experience living both lives, and I think there's some interesting and important things to know in general about these two different styles of nomadic on the road living. So everything that we're going to be comparing and talking about today are just generals. They're not going to be fundamentally true across the board. I'm going to break this video up into some sections so it's easier to digest, make it a little more fun, and we'll try and make it as clear and condensed as possible for your listening and viewing pleasure. When I was young, we had this gigantic green Dodge van. It was a 5-seater, which was perfect because we're a 5-person family. I have a brother, a sister, a mom, and a dad, and we would take these trips every single summer, and I loved it. And we would go for like anywhere between 2 weeks and 4 weeks and just go into the woods, travel maybe 500 miles into a beautiful destination here somewhere in California, and we would find places to camp. We'd camp along the way, and then we would set up our camp somewhere deep in the woods and go backpacking for a couple of days, come back to the van, drive onto another spot and do the same thing. And that's kind of how we spent a chunk of our summer, and it was just a blast. Like I have such fond memories of those times. More recently in life, I've shared a space with Brittany in a small 19-foot RV. It's a Winnebago on top of a Toyota truck, and we've spent a lot of time around different places in the United States, primarily in Austin, Texas, living out of our RV, and it's just been a blast. Over the last few years, living a more nomadic, minimalist life, I've seen a lot of RVs, I've seen a lot of conversion vans, and I think there are some general comparisons that we can make so that you can have all the information you need when seeking out your vehicle home. A big deal for me, and something that a lot of people don't consider when they're purchasing a van over an RV, is headroom. Being able to stand up. It's totally underrated until you aren't able to stand up, and then you realize, oh man, this is not very fun. Your back gets cramped. It's just like not that fun to do things, especially preparing a meal. So one of the bonuses for me of having an RV is that I have enough headroom. Now, some of us are quite tall, and so we may have a little bit of bending to do in certain RVs as well, but in general, if you're getting a van, you're going to have to hunch, and if you get an RV, you're going to be able to stand up. Let's talk about plumbing. Most vans that you're going to come across do not have sinks, and almost all of them are not going to have a bathroom. I have seen a van that has a shower in it, and that's really uncommon. For the most part, these type of vans do not have any of those kind of amenities. Water requires a certain amount of energy and space, and these things were just removed when putting together these kind of vans. The energy and the space were used for other things that they found more important. To me, when I'm on the road and I need to go to the bathroom, or I just want to rinse my hands, it's definitely a downside to having a van over an RV. RVs, I've never seen an RV in my whole life that doesn't have a plumbing system. Now, when you have more systems, you're going to have more issues, because every system has the possibility of failure or breakage or whatever. So that is something to consider. You know, that might be a bonus. You don't have these other two systems to deal with, the intake and the outtake of fluids. So in order to have water, you need a pump, you need the water tank, you need a water supply, and then you also need the drainage system. You need something to hold the material once you run the water through it, whether it's, you know, black water or just gray water. You may need 2 different tanks, holding tanks, one for gray and one for black. If you don't know what that means, gray water is something that comes out of the sink, something that comes out of the shower, and black water is something that generally runs through the toilet. spending a lot of time living in areas of the United States where you're not supposed to kind of sleep in your vehicle, and it's kind of like, well, maybe you're allowed to sleep in an RV, maybe not, and you want to feel comfortable sleeping in your vehicle. A van is definitely going to be a better situation for you. I feel really comfortable in our RV because it's only 19 feet. It fits into a small parking space. We can pull the shades. We can black out all the windows. We're really quiet. So we've got into a routine where we feel really comfortable with that. But vans are definitely more under the radar, and that's really something to consider, because in the middle of the night, it's just a bummer to get a knock on the door from someone who wants you to move. It just doesn't feel that good. And so even if that never happens to you, but you have this slight paranoia that it might, you're not going to get as restful nights of sleep. So having something like this, it's a little more low key. Now, I will mention that if you were going to utilize the bed up here, you have to pop this up. This is a pop-up trailer, and those are totally obvious. There's also pop-up RVs too, and obviously if you're trying to lay low under the radar and you're popping out your vehicle, it's really obvious you're inside of it. So I'm talking about vans where you're not going to be popping things up, and you're not going to be putting out your overhead canopy or anything funny like that. In general, you can lie a little lower under the radar than an RV. If you are interested in doing a lot of driving, and you're also interested in maybe hitting up some back roads, maybe getting into the back country, I would definitely encourage you to consider having a van over an RV. We've done some backcountry type driving in our RV, which again is a very small RV compared to most of them. And it's not sketchy, but it's like you have to go really slow. You can kind of feel the vehicle like not really wanting to do it. It's definitely a little harder to maneuver. It's a little harder to park in general. It's a little harder to make turns, all of those things. It's in general, RVs are going to be slower and a little bit harder to drive, and a little bit limited in where they can go versus most vans. What I do love about our RV is its bed location. The bed is above the seats, the driver and the passenger seats, and it's really out of the way. It's kind of like territory that you wouldn't use for anything else except maybe storage. The rest of the RV is totally open. Most vans, the way that they're set up is you go to the back, you open up the doors, and there's your bed. And that's totally cool, but also it's a lot of space. The bed is a big chunk of space. Some of them have the pop-up, like this one has a bed in the pop-up. It also has storage in the pop-up. But in general, when we're talking about vans, they're going to be kind of down low, like where I'm seated right now. This is a place where you can sleep. This is one of the main beds. It also pops up into a chair. It converts into a couch. But for the most part, if you're getting a van, the bed is going to be a big chunk of the space. What I love about the RV is it's its own little compartment. Vans versus RVs, which one is easier to fix and easier to maintain? It really is going to depend on the maker of the vehicle. And it's going to depend both on how easy it is to fix, how much it breaks, and how much it costs to fix. These particular vehicles that I'm sitting in right now, these Vanagons, they're classics. They're all kind of these high ticket items. They're kind of like an antique. They're a specialty. They are not easy to fix. They are also very expensive to fix. There are things that have gone wrong in this particular vehicle that my dad's had to pay a lot of money to get repaired. And I don't think that everyone realizes that. They see these vehicles around, they see like a lot of hip, cool people driving them, and they want one, and that makes sense. But just know that if you're gonna get one of these, in particular, these Vanagons or any kind of VW, to be honest with you, from what I've seen, they're a tougher vehicle to fix, they're more expensive to fix, and they're not as reliable as other makes that I've seen out there. So if you're going to get something like this, I would want it to be because you want that particular thing, not because you want a vehicle that you can sleep in. If you want a vehicle that you can sleep in, there are better options for you. If you want a VW Vanagon, then this is the only one that you can get. Our RV is totally kick-ass, as I've mentioned a couple of times. It's built on top of a Toyota. So it is a great vehicle. It has incredible gas mileage. It's really easy to fix. it just doesn't break. It goes forever. It's just phenomenal. The thing to remember about RVs that I mentioned before is that there are more systems in an RV. So you've got the plumbing, you've got a more complicated electric, we have solar. So there's just more things that could break. It's a bigger vehicle. There's more territory to it to take care of if you're having rust issues, if you're having a leaky ceiling, as opposed to a van. It's more condensed and there's less systems. So in general, if you just compare how many systems are in place in each type of vehicle, the van is going to be a better choice. But ultimately, it depends on the make and the model. Finally, I wanted to talk about these new Sprinter vans that are out there, because these are kind of a perfect harmony of van and RV. These are narrow, they're long, you can get them in a lot of different shapes, and you can get them custom built or you can get them already formatted. They get pretty decent gas mileage. They're pretty under the radar because they look kind of like you're a delivery person or maybe a handyman or something. You could even throw up a sign that says like John's Flowers or something and be really under the radar. You can get blackout windows, you can get it all paneled, you can get a full bathroom, you can have anything you want in these things. The only downside to them is that they're very expensive. They're super duper expensive. And so if you've got, you know, money that you want to invest in something like that, that would absolutely be my top recommendation. You can stand up in them. I mean, they pretty much have everything that the other thing doesn't, if that makes sense. They're a perfect harmony of RV and van life. Now, if you're on the other side of the spectrum and you're maybe living a more frugal existence, you don't want to spend a whole lot of money into a vehicle, but you want a vehicle that you can sleep in and you want certain key components, I would recommend building your own. This is totally doable. It doesn't take a whole lot of knowledge because all the plans that you may need are on the internet. You can find everything that you need. Just Google it. And you can build yourself a van or a renovated RV that is customized to exactly what you want. So there's two options to do that. You could buy an inexpensive van, rip out everything, and put in however you want it to be arranged. You could even install a toilet, a shower, you could do whatever you want. But the bones are never going to change, so you're never going to be able to stand up in it, and you're never going to be able to make it any bigger than it is. You can also buy an RV. I would recommend, if you do this, to buy one that has interior damage, that maybe had a roof leak and the interior is totally shot, but it's on a great engine. Then redo the roof, which is not a big deal, rip out everything from inside, which is a big deal but totally worth it, reconstruct it the way that you want, make it perfect, make it exactly what your dreams are telling you, and I think you'll be a happy camper. Pun totally intended. If you want to see a renovation video on a similar kind of situation that Brittany has on her channel, check that out here. Put it right here. At the end of the day, for me, it's all about the Winnebago RV. It's just a badass vehicle. There's no question about it. It's done us really, really well. I feel like we have an entire home when we're inside of her. And I also feel like we have the luxury of getting to some places that some other larger RVs aren't able to. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you have an RV, if you have a van, please post your comments down below. If you're looking for one, post down below and tell me what you're dreaming about. I'm really curious. If you like the video, you can click the like button. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do that. I make new videos every single week. So much love to you. Take good and great care of yourselves, and we will check in soon. Mwah! Bye.